B.Scott from Hiram Clark.
Welcome to the B Block Podcast. I am your host, Brandon Scott. I appreciate you for joining me. It is, in fact, a bye-week B Block with Big Sarge and B.Scott. That's what I'm calling this one, a bye-week B Block with Big Sarge and B.Scott, because we big on alliteration around here. And look, the last episode, we reacted to the Texans going 2-3 after a blowout against the Ravens. And look, I'm really excited to be able to bring y'all my guy, Big Sarge, of Big Sarge Media, of Texans Tailgate Talk. You can find that on YouTube and also wherever you get your podcast as well. Also, Big Sarge of Rockets Wire fame as well, and whatever the hell else that Big Sarge wants to do with his time, because he's his own man like that. Hey, Sarge, man, look, I want to appreciate you for being generous with your time, joining me on the B Block. Happy bye week. How you feeling, man?
Man, B.Scott from Hiram Clark coming down, looking good. That boy, that B I can't help it.
I got you live. I got you live with that intro, bro.
Hey, look, man. Look, B, I can't help it, man. I'm so H-Town that, anytime you hear a beat and there's a break in it, you got to float. Like, you have to freestyle. Yeah. I mean, in my big age of 53 going on 54, I still do it. Sometimes my wife be looking at me like, what are you doing? I was like, I can't help it. If I hear the music, I got to flow.
Hey, you know what's funny? It's funny that you would say this, because I went to, so over the weekend, before we get in, we'll get into a bunch of Texan stuff, Rocket stuff. Big Sarge is on the scene of pretty much everything. I know even when I'm not there, I'm able to tap in with you to kind of keep me connected. And so I appreciate you for that. So before we get into some of that stuff, though, I do want to kind of tell this quick story, since you mentioned hearing the beat and wanting to freestyle. So I went to the Ball Brothers show over the weekend. That's Tony Baker and Kev on stage. They were in town. They were in town at the Bayou Music Center over the weekend. So me and my lady and a couple other couples went. And, they do this segment where they pull somebody out the crowd. They pull people out the crowd for a bunch of different stuff. But one of the topics was like the thing that would get you like the side eye at the cookout, or like the, black people would be surprised because you black, right? So They would be surprised about you, you know what I'm saying, for wherever you like, kind of going up against a stereotype or whatever. And so he had a bunch of different ones that was crazy, man. You had a dude that came up there and was talking about how he don't wash his legs, bro. Black dude came up there. He was with his wife and everything. Told the whole world, and a whole room full of black people, that he didn't wash his legs. And so it was a whole funny bit. There was somebody up there that talked about how they didn't play spades. It was a girl that went up there and talked about how she was in a cult, and she had to get out of the cult. So a bunch of different stories like that. There was a dude up there who's like, man, I like rock and roll more than I like R&B. Okay, so mine would have been, now that I just heard you say that about the beat, mine would have probably been, man, every time I was in the circle, because we all been in the circle, right, where we posted up, you with your partners and the beat is on, or we listening to whatever, and everybody start freestyling. Mine would be that I would never jump into the circle. Well, I'd be in the circle because I'm with my people, but I'd never jump into the flow. I'd never freestyle. So, and eventually they stopped trying to get me to. Like they didn't bother me too much about it, but it was one of them things, man. I never ever jumped in, even though I felt like I was smart enough and witty enough, and I probably could have. I just never jumped in. I just kind of like went with the flow instead of actually flowing myself, bro.
Hey, look, two things. One, the thing that probably would have got me booed up out of that show would have been, I don't eat sweet potato pie.
Yeah, that would have been one for you. That would have been, because it was one who she said she hadn't seen none of the black movies. So they started going through all. It was like, man, Color Purple, 5 Heartbeats, Temptations. think she had seen like Coming to America, maybe, but like she hadn't seen like most of everything.
Yeah.
And so they start asking, hey, do you like sweet potato pie, pumpkin pie? You know what I'm saying? But that made me think about you, how you don't like none of that stuff.
Look, and the second thing, B, was you remember that skit that Dave Chappelle did where he was in the booth, but he was never rapping. He was like, turn me up in the headphones.
Yeah.
Turn me up. Turn my headphones up. That was you in the circle beat. Nah, wait, come on. I mean, I like that beat, bro, but that ain't really me, man. I be flowing off other beats.
Yeah. I was more of the critic. I was more of the critic than the actual doer. But what's funny is I look back on that, and like, I guess since I'm older now and I listen to me, you know how you get older and you listen to today's music and you're like, man, that's terrible. Like I could have did that. I could have made that song easily. And I think about that now, like looking back, man, if I had just applied myself or had a little bit more confidence, the confidence that I got now, if I had then, now I don't even have no interest. But back then, if I had that same confidence that I got now, man, who knows what I could have been. I could have definitely the bad auto tune that I've heard, I definitely could have made a record for sure, man.
Sure.
So
Exactly.
but that would have been my thing. But look, man, I gotta get with you because you were in Baltimore. And like I mentioned earlier when we opened the show, you're on the scene for everything. And you got a up close look at this beatdown that the Texans put on the Ravens. And I don't know, like I listened to the show and everything. So I'm pretty sure that you weren't completely shocked that the Texans won this game, but I don't know how much you thought the Texans was going to be able to pull this off, even against a skeleton crew. Just the way it looked, Sarge, for me, man, was the most encouraging thing. Forget about the score, forget about the record, and all of that matters, by the way. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but just like to this point, it was exactly like the way that it looked, the way that they played, how sharp they were, how on schedule they were, how they were able to overcome some moments when they weren't as sharp or on schedule, they were so good that they were able to overcome it. And that's I think a key part of good teams too. Like you're gonna get penalties, you're gonna get negative plays, you're gonna have moments of what you might call adversity where you gotta turn it around and respond. I feel like they did that in this last game. I say all that to say this: they 2-3 at the bye week with two teams in a division that's 4-1. That be the Indianapolis Colts and the Jacksonville Jaguars after they beat the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football. I'm asking you, just plain and simple, before we kind of get into some of the details about the team overall, generally, you tell me: are the Texans any good? Are the Houston Texans any good?
Yes, and the reason why I say that they are good and why I still do believe that they will make the playoffs is because I knew that they had an opportunity to win in Baltimore despite who they were playing. I think that even if Baltimore would have had some of their players on defense, some of the players that was out that was on defense, some of their playmakers that they have on defense, I think that the Texans would have still beat them only because their Ravens defense was bad, coming in before they even got injured. Like if we keeping it a buck right here on the B block, they like the injuries probably saved them from embarrassment. The injuries probably saved them from further criticism because I think they were like 31st or 32nd in defense coming into the Texans game. And so they have been a bad defense for the entire regular season, the short 2025 season so far. And it's crazy because you never thought that you would say that the Baltimore Ravens were that bad. I'm not used to seeing the Baltimore Ravens defense like this. And so, yes, I do think that the Texans would have beat the Ravens anyway, regardless. And and it's not because of anything that I seen. Let me put it like this: it's not because I thought that the Texans would win because of the injuries to the Baltimore Ravens. I thought that the Texans would win because at the end of the third quarter, or close to the end of the third quarter in the Tennessee Titans game, you remember CJ picked up a first down, and then they had back-to-back penalties that pushed them further back. And so on second, I think it was first and 30. And this is against the Titans. It was first and 30. Woody Marks lost 3 yards. So now it's second and 33. And on that play, on that second and 33, that's when Nico got past the Jerry Sneed and got that big play for 37 yards. And after that, that Houston Texans offense took off. And by the end, Nico had another, I think, like another 12-yard catch. But by the time they got to that fourth quarter and they routed off those 20 unanswered points, they rode that momentum into the game against the Baltimore Ravens. And so I knew that they were going to be competitive. I knew that they weren't going to allow Cooper Rush to beat them. But the question is, are the Texans any good? And I had to preface that to say this. We look at the Texans record right now at 2-3. They could easily be 5-0. It isn't that the Texans beat themselves so much with an ineffective offense in the first 3 games. They were still in it. The late great Kobe Bryant would say all the time, "Hey, I don't care if I miss 10 shots from the same spot. When it's time to take the 11th shot, I'm going to take the shot." And so for as bad as they were still in the game. They were still right there. And, you know, in against the Rams, they had a fumble in the red zone. Against the Buccaneers, they allowed they had a 4th and whatever it was, and they missed a tackle on Baker Mayfield, and they continued to drive down the field. Against Jacksonville Jaguars, something very uncharacteristic of Nico Collins, he fumbled in the red zone. So you look at that compared to a defense that's only been allowing, now they're only allowing 12.2 points, but at that time, they were only allowing 13 points a game. So really all they were asking the offense to do was to get 16. And even if they couldn't, they were still in those games. And so when I look at those 3 losses, I say those could have easily been wins, because the last 2 seasons we've watched the Houston Texans win those close games. We've seen them win, you know, those 1 possession games. And so, yeah, B, I still think that the Texans are good.
Yeah, so I like that you mentioned the close games that they played in, because this is also something that they've talked about. We've heard D'Amico Ryans talk about. Nick Caserio talked a little bit about this when he spoke on Tuesday with the media about these close games that they've been in. And this is, for me, like one of the next steps that I want to see them take, because the one thing about these last couple of games is that they have been blowouts, and credit to them. Like, you'll take a win however you can take it. And let's just be honest, you rather blow a team out. Like, you rather feel good at the end of the game about where you are and not be stressing about decisions and be able to put Davis Mills in the game. And how about the fact that they hadn't even punted. So they hadn't even punted until he had gotten in the game late in the game, Davis Mills. That's how impressive they were.
8 straight possessions they scored.
Exactly, albeit against a shorthanded Baltimore Ravens defense, but again, one that wasn't very good even when they had all of their guys. You mentioned this earlier. They were ranked 31st in total defense going into that game, 31st in passing defense, 27th in rushing defense, and dead last in points allowed, meaning that they allowed the most points per game of anybody, and then they got 44 put up on them against the Texans. So I say all that to say that for me, the next step for the Texans, one of the key next steps, is to see them do that thing that you was just talking about in them close games, because I think that's the difference between the good teams and the bad ones. It's like everybody going to be in close games, good, bad, or mediocre. Everybody's going to play a handful of, if not a majority of, close games throughout the league. But the good teams are the ones that know how to finish, know how to close out, and know how to win those close games, like those previous Texans teams that you're talking about. Like how you just mentioned, how in previous years, in this short time under D'Amico Ryans and C.J. Stroud, they've been pretty good at winning those close games. Those are good teams. If this one is going to be a good one, I'm really curious to see what it looks like when they play Seattle after the bye week. I feel like that's one that I don't see either team blowing the other one out. I could be wrong, but I don't see that happen. I see that being a potential close game. And honestly, the Texans better hope it is, because that's a tough place to play. Yeah. You'll be good and glad to be close against Seattle on the road. So that to me is the next step, is to see them closing out those games. I mentioned winning along the margins, closing out, being better on third down, being better in the red zone. We've seen improvement in that area over the last couple of weeks. So to me, I think they got a lot of good ingredients. I think they got a lot of good pieces. CJ Stroud, obviously, we're gonna talk about him in a little bit, but like they got the quarterback, the coach. I think you and I both are really high on them. They got the defense that we will also talk about in a little bit. They got all the right components, but the only thing that I need to see to really feel confident about saying that they good, Sarge, is them start to win those close games. It's cool. I ain't complaining about them blowing teams out. I want to be clear about that. I'm not complaining about the blowout. I'm not being picky. I'm not blaming them for who's on their schedule. None of that. I'm just saying that until we start seeing, we're gonna see them pretty soon.
Yeah.
Till we start seeing them play some of these close games and win them, that's when I know whether they're a good team or not.
And I would say this, minus the Jacksonville Jaguars, even though they are playing good, and I don't want to belittle them and take away from their 4-1 record, but to go in and play against the Los Angeles Rams to start the season off, and then play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who, even on Tuesday, Nick Caserio called Baker Mayfield the MVP of the league right now, and they gave Baker Mayfield a run for his money. It took it took Baker Mayfield to do what he's seen CJ Stroud do in 2023 in order to win that game. And so you're still in these games while you're getting your first year offensive coordinator and your quarterback acclimated to each other. You're getting the play calling, you're getting the line together, you're getting these rookies, who haven't played in the NFL acclimated to playing in the NFL. And so I think that if the way that they played in the beginning of the season if those games that they played in a 3-game losing streak, they played at the end of the season, I think that you'll see a totally different team. And also, like they say in sports, you got the highs and the lows, the peaks and the valleys. So maybe the Texans got, walked through the valley early to get up the hill, whereas some people have started on the hill and now they're going to go down into the valley. I didn't mean to get churchy on you, but
no, that's man. I take a good, I take a good church reference. Grew up in the church, man. Those are easy and natural to me. So, so those are ones that I can understand. But I'm glad that you mentioned Caley, because and the offensive coordinator Nick Caley is who I'm talking about there, and kind of how things are starting to gel. On the last episode that I did, Sarge, my big point was that I felt like it was somewhat of like this seminal moment for Nick Caley, perhaps a turning point even for Nick Caley and the offensive line specifically. Like, I know that Xavier Hutchinson got his first 2 career touchdowns, and shout out to him for that. I know Jalen Noel got his first career touchdown and styled on the Ravens a little bit and ruffled a little feathers over there on the sideline, and shout out to him for that. I know Nico Collins got in the end zone. CJ Stroud was light on his feet for that 30-yard scramble. The defense, so we'll talk about him, but Jalen Petrie with his 2 interceptions, and Kamari with his interception, the third one of the game for the Texans, basically like for good measure. I was like, damn, Kamari, he got to do it like that. Y'all not ready. Kamari was ready to just get the shovel out on the boys, man.
He wasn't even supposed to be in the game.
Yeah, and that's right. He wasn't supposed to be on the game, but that's how they do him. But for me, so it's a bunch of different elements you could point to. If you want to just look at like CJ Stroud to Dalton Schultz, like he had a couple throws to Dalton Schultz where it was like, oh, is that gonna start being a thing again? Like speaking of a rookie year, CJ Stroud. But to me, it felt like, man, Nick Caley and this offensive line, and when I say the offensive line, I really mean the offense overall, and how things are coming together in the run game specifically, in their run blocking. And then with Nick Caley specifically, I think, or in particular, I think that like the game plan seems to make so much sense. The flow of the plays, how he's getting guys involved. Took them long enough to figure out that Woody Marks was a weapon, but you're seeing him mixed into things. There was a drive there where they used Christian Kirk in a number of different ways that I thought were really interesting. Of course, there was a lot of complaints, you know this, in the first couple of weeks of not getting the ball to Nico Collins enough.
Yeah.
They figured out a way to now feed Nico Collins and spread the ball, like figure out the best of both worlds, where you see him involved, but you also see 8 different guys catching the ball in the game and them really spreading it around. Like I feel like Nick Caley over the last couple of games, and this last one in particular, really specifically this last game, is really kind of coming into his own. I ain't crowning him yet, but I think it also is a good to point out that it was way too early to bury him too early on when it did not look good. So I'm curious what you think about how the Texans' first year offensive coordinator is doing.
Well, I will say this. Throughout training camp, you heard the phrase from head coach D'Amico Ryans, and you heard the phrase from Nick Caley about, this offense isn't a copy and paste offense. This offense isn't a copy and paste offense. But I tell you one thing: if the first 3 games was a term paper that Nick Caley wrote, I would have to have it checked for plagiarism of the New England Patriots system. Like, I would have to have it checked between, I would have to compare it and have it checked to something that Josh McDaniels did when he was the offensive coordinator of the New England Patriots, because it just did not look, it didn't look as fluid as it has the last 2 games, well, the last 5.5 quarters, as it did the first 3 games. And it was just it was lethargic, it was stale. And I can give Nick Caley, a little bit of leeway. I can shoot him a little bit of bail and say, okay, well, he's new. He's got to get used to calling these plays. But, there's some things that you just look and you just like even I know that wouldn't work on Madden. So why are you running that play? But it looked like he finally got away from some of the things from the New England Patriots system or New England dominant. And, it was funny because I don't know if you had a full chance to hear the voice of the person going back and forth with Nick Caserio on Tuesday about the New England system. That was a familiar voice that you've heard for a long time. And that was Landry Locker going back and forth with Nick Caserio about, is this offense the New England offense or whatever the case may be. But for myself, I could see it start to change in that Tennessee Titans game, and it looked like he got away from doing more of the New England style and started using more of the Sean McVay style, started using a little bit more of the Los Angeles Rams style. And I highlighted a play on social media on Tuesday where the touchdown run by Nick Chubb. If you go back and you look at that play, if you go back and you look at that touchdown run by Nick Chubb, that play is designed exactly like the play that the Los Angeles Rams ran against the Texans at the end of the game to get the first down and run the clock out. I don't know if you remember this or not, but B, I like to do this thing on the Texans Tailgate Talk Show where I think the song is by Minnie Riperton, where it said, I stumbled across a photograph. It kind of made me laugh. It took me way back down memory lane. Let me take you back down memory lane. On that play, they put Puka Nacua in motion and they stopped him in between the tackle and the guard. And they ran the play. So when he's coming between, that's something I'm going to be honest with you, that's something that I had never seen before. When he comes in motion and they hike the ball and he comes between the guard and the tackle, and now Jalen Petrie is trying to pick him up, but he doesn't know what he's doing. Now, and I'm not saying Jalen Petrie didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know what Puka Nacua was doing. And they were able to execute that play, get that first down. You go back and you look at the touchdown run by Nick Chubb. They have an extra offensive lineman in there in Blake Fisher, which, by the way, I like when they do that because sometimes it's, automatically the defense is going to think run, but they've ran some pass plays out of that as well. But you look at it, they got Blake Fisher in the game as an extra tackle, extra offensive lineman. Then you got Christian Kirk, and you have Xavier Hutchinson, out. They motion Xavier Hutchinson in, and they stop him in between Blake Fisher and Titus Howard. They stop him right on the foot of Blake Fisher. Hike the ball, and they run the play. Everybody gets a hat on the hat. Nick Chubb gets to the hole, and now pay dirt. That's not something that I'm used to seeing from this Houston Texans offense. That's also a play that they could use, or a formation, that they could use later on down the line and bring him in motion, hike the ball, and then they have the option to throw the pass. When Xavier Hutchinson got his touchdown, you remember his first touchdown, he came out and it looked like he was blocking, and he released and got into the flats. Like, that's more of what the Houston Texans need. That's more of what CJ Stroud is used to playing with. He looked like he was back in Ohio State doing those type of things. And so, excuse me. So when I look at it, the one thing that I've noticed that two things that I've noticed that Caley's done. It's like he's starting to give CJ Stroud more control of the offense. You see CJ getting more comfortable in the offense, and by getting him more comfortable in the offense, during those first 3 games, CJ was so shell-shocked, he looked like he wasn't comfortable, and he kept chopping his feet in the pocket. Like he never settled his feet. But now against Baltimore, and like I said, at the end of that Tennessee Titans game, he's dropping back, he's setting his feet, and they're getting the ball out of his hands quicker. Hey, look. Hey, what? It was only a 3-yard pass. It doesn't matter. Let's go. 2nd and 7. Run the ball, get 4 yards now. They're preventing themselves from getting in long down situations. And that's where I think that Nick Caley has evolved.
Yeah, man. You mentioned them motioning Xavier Hutchinson on that run play for Nick Chubb, the touchdown run. I think it was like 27 yards or something like that on that touchdown run. A couple of plays earlier, and I want to say even the 2 plays earlier were those Christian Kirk plays that I was talking about, where they did some similar stuff in pass plays with Christian Kirk. So that makes me think of a couple of things. It seems like, at least I haven't looked at these numbers per se, or whatever the deep analytics that look at and chart these kind of things, whatever they say, but it seems like they're using a little bit more motion. And it seems like they're using a little bit more misdirection. And then on top of that, just the more it's like they're deploying the weapons a little bit more, right? Like the rookies are more involved. Christian Kirk seems like he's starting to get more comfortable after his first, 2 games. Now it's been 3 games. And so between Woody Marks being a factor, Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins, and Christian Kirk, kind of starting to figure things out. Dalton Schultz was a big part of this game. Like it seems like all of a sudden the weapons have come alive, or like they've woken up, and then at the same time, Nick Caley, like you mentioned, has kind of gone to some different things, as opposed to like, and this might have been some of the trouble in the past of just being like stuck on whatever it is that you do. Okay, maybe we learn. I can even remember asking him about this last week of like, hey, what was it about y'all shortcomings? And I think this was one of the days when you were at Rockets. But I asked him about what was it about some of y'all shortcomings that y'all learned from, that y'all were kind of able to apply to that previous game. This was obviously before they had beaten the Ravens. This is right after they had beaten the Titans. Like, yeah, what have y'all been able to kind of learn and apply? And he's like, man, look, it's forced us to learn and adapt, and to acknowledge what we're not good at and what we are. I'm paraphrasing when I say all of this, but like kind of just self-scouting and self-identifying. They're going to get even more of an opportunity to do that now in the bye week of figuring out exactly who they are. But that's what I've loved about it, is that, some of the stuff that you're talking about, how he's adapted and adjusted and kind of just realized and recognized what they're working with, and just kind of going from there. You mentioned CJ going from shell shock or seemingly shell shock to just a lot more comfortable over these last couple of games. I want to kind of just go at that real quick, of like what you think about this being, and at least this is my thought, like this could be a turning point for CJ Stroud, maybe more so in the narrative department, but also like if the team is going to be serious, going back to our earlier question about are they any good, like they obviously need him to be at his best, but I feel like I'm seeing that confidence. I feel like we've seen now back to back games where if the narrative was, hey, CJ Stroud had a sophomore slump, CJ Stroud's regressing, CJ Stroud's taking a step back. All right, well, go check the tape of these last couple of games. Really can go check the tape even before that. But these last couple of games in particular should serve as a reminder to others that either forgot or started talking crazy about CJ Stroud, that he still is one of those guys. Like it's a handful of guys in this league that are like that. And he's still one of those guys. Still hasn't done enough of it because it's just his third year, and they did have some moments where they struggled last year and started off 0-3 this year. Like he probably hasn't done enough of it, but the best of CJ Stroud is right there with the best of them. And he's shown you that over the last couple of weeks. I feel like this could be a turning point for him, and therefore this offense, and therefore this squad at large.
Did you get a chance to watch the Tennessee Titans versus the Arizona Cardinals game, or did you see any of the highlights from that game outside of what the coach and the player got into it on the sideline, or well, the coach getting into it with the player? But if you go back and you look at that game, one of the turning points was Cam Ward, quarterback Cam Ward for the Tennessee Titans, threw an interception, and when the defender caught it, he was running, but then he fell and then he fumbled. And then another Arizona player tried to recover and he kicked it into the end zone. And the next thing you know, the wide receiver, Tyler Lockett from the Titans, got on the ball and they scored a touchdown. After that, the momentum shifted because I think that they were getting beat. Like they were getting beat pretty bad. And this was after the guy had, dropped the ball before he got across the line. But after that play, the momentum shifted. And next thing you know, the Tennessee Titans are getting their first win of the season. I preface that to say this. Momentum is a funny thing. Momentum is a funny thing, and you never know when it's going to happen. You never know when you're going to gain it, especially when you haven't had it. And especially when you haven't had it, but you get it, and then all of a sudden you just ride this momentum until it rides itself out. And so, just like I said earlier in the show, that 37-yard pass on second and 33 to Nico Collins in that Tennessee Titans game started a wave of momentum for CJ. And after that, like I said, he has been hot. I think he has, over the last two games, he has 477 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, had an 85% completion rate on Sunday against the Baltimore Ravens. And it wasn't just that he was gaining momentum. He was very confident in that pocket. And one buzzword that they've been using around the locker room, but especially Nico Collins kept saying, we got to get our swag back. We got to get our swag back. And it looks as if he is getting his swag back. I think after the game, he said, if you give me the time, if I can get the time, I'll show you what I can do. And that's what we seen in 2023. When he has the time, he can dissect up any defense and carve up any defense that's thrown at him. You just got to give him the time. And now that he has added using, his legs to his more to his ability and to help out. Okay, if I don't see it, take the ball down, get what I can get, and keep it moving. His decision making has started to get better. He looks way more decisive now than he did last season when Bobby Slowick was still the offense coordinator. And so, wait, you want to say something?
No.
Okay.
I'm listening to you. I'm kind of reading something off about CJ because you mentioned like the kind of the talking about the momentum. So I'm kind of just looking at some of his numbers. Go ahead, finish your thought.
I was like, because I thought you were gonna put your finger like this, like they were doing in church.
Like we in church. That came up too at the show. Because not to just throw us off track, but cool. That came up too at the show because Tony Baker had never I guess he went to church, but he from Chicago or whatever. He ain't know nothing about putting the finger up in church.
Yeah.
And so Kev, who is a church guy,
Yeah.
was telling them about that, and everybody in the crowd, we all black, of course, we all like, yeah, man, that's a rule. He's like, man, that's a rule. He's like, yeah, and then he goes, man, F y'all.
Look, all black and all Southern.
Yep.
But you just see, like I said, his confidence is growing, and the confidence is growing because of the momentum. And now, look, not only is his confidence growing, but it's starting to rub off on players like Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins, Woody Marks, like
Xavier Hutchinson.
Xavier Hutchinson, exactly. But you just start to see it now because they believe in CJ so much, and as CJ go, so does the rest of that offense. Hey, look, even the offensive line. Remember, Ariante Ursery said, "Hey, man, I'm willing to die for CJ." I was like, "All right." But that momentum that he picked up in game, and that's why the bye week didn't come till late last season. It was really crazy. I think it came like week 14 or something, 12, 14, and it was really crazy because they started the season so early due to the Hall of Fame game, and you don't give them a break until later on, and then you bring them right out of the bye week and make them play like 3 games in like 10 days. And so, but now they got this momentum, and now they got the bye, and they got to try to pick it back up against Seattle, which, I mean, you didn't ask me this, but I'll say it anyway. I don't think that Sam Darnold can lead that Seattle Seahawks offense against that Houston Texans defense and be successful. I think I give way more to CJ Stroud being able to beat that Seattle defense than I do Sam Darnold being able to beat that Texans defense. You didn't ask me that, but I just figure I throw that in there because CJ is involved.
Nah, I like that point. I hadn't actually thought about it like that, but I think I would agree with that. Just to kind of put a bow on the CJ point, 6 touchdowns over his last 2 games, no interceptions, only been sacked twice, has gone for at least 230 yards in both of those games. His passer rating in those 2 games, 125.1 against the Titans, 143.9 against the Ravens. And so those are all pretty good numbers, and tells you a lot. And I like what you said about how a lot of that is rubbing. Oh, and also you mentioned him using his legs. How about them getting those short yardage situations, going to CJ in some of those short yardage situations, and having him do the quarterback sneaks in the Titans game. And then, of course, he just had the one run for the 30 yards against the Ravens. We mentioned that earlier, but I'm pretty sure that's the longest run in his career. And that was an important moment, right? Like that was an important play. Certainly at the time, like they ended up blowing him out. So they could have beat him without that drive. But at the time and in the moment, it was like, man, look at that, CJ getting after it. So yeah, all of that, I would agree with. I think it's a big time for CJ. Go ahead.
B, let me throw one more thing in there.
The doors of the church are open.
That's what I'm talking about. Thanks, B. But hold on, I ain't got no money for offering a love offering, building fund.
Hey, just
chicken dinners. I ain't got no money for that.
Just tap the plate. You know how you do when it comes out, you got no money. Just tap the plate.
But the B, going back and tying in, and I know you want to wrap this up, but tying in the Nick Caley and CJ Stroud connection and how they're starting to get on the same page. So you remember after the Baltimore Ravens got that huge 56-yard pass to Zay Flowers, and then Derrick Henry got that 1-yard touchdown run. And even though the Texans were still up by, I think they were still up by like 24 points. I think the score was still like 34-10 at the time, something to 41-10. I don't remember the exact score, but the Texans were still up big. But B, what they did was something unprecedented from the Houston Texans offense, something that we had not seen in a long time. They answered with the score. He came right back, got a 47-yard gain to Christian Kirk on a beautiful route. got the face mask penalty, moved the ball closer, and that's when Jalen Noel got his touchdown, got his first NFL career touchdown pass. But B, even on that play, if you look, CJ fakes the pitch. Woody Marks sells that play so well because he goes like this, like he has the ball and they're shifting. And all the while they're doing that, CJ is knowing that Noel is coming out into the flats and bam. And so that's something that we hadn't seen, like just those type of things, but being able to counter and respond to that score, that's just something that the Texans, you hadn't seen from the Texans in a long time.
Yeah, and how about, I mentioned this on the last episode too, but I mentioned it with you here as well about those penalties. Like I get, it's funny because I get irked with the penalties. Like when I see the penalties, they are frustrating, obviously, because penalties are negative. You are penalized for them, of course. Send a name, we get it. But then at the same time, man, I'm gonna be honest, I get annoyed when penalties are used as the excuse for why you can't have a competent offense, for why you can't move the ball down the field, why you can't have a clean and productive operation around the penalties. Like that's the thing that people don't want to talk about whenever they talk about penalties. Like, okay, what about the non-penalty plays that wasn't worth a damn neither? You know,
Yep.
and so, but that was what was different about this game, where I got to give them their credit, was that like on their second drive of the game, okay, they get that penalty on, they get the holding penalty on Juice Scruggs, and Christian Kirk had got called for illegal formation as well. But they accept and enforce the Juice Scruggs penalty, and they ended up kicking a field goal on that drive, and that hurts you because they're in the red zone at that point. I want to say they were at the exactly at the 20 at that point. That pushes you back. It hurts you. You have to settle for 3 instead of the 7. This is something that they talk about, wanting to finish drives and actually score touchdowns instead of relying on Kaimi Fairbairn to score all the points. We get it. But the saving grace of that drive, or the cool part about that drive, was that other than the penalty and then the sack that they gave up, blown assignment on the edge, I want to say, what was that? I'm trying to remember if that was Kyle, I think it was Kyle Van Noy who got that sack, blown assignment. They didn't know. I guess somebody just a miscue of some sort. All right, settle for 3. But they was moving the ball the whole drive. Yep. And out of the 10 plays that they ran, 8 of them were positive plays. You know, and at least 7 of them were really good plays. And then you had those 2 bad ones, those 2 negative ones that did hurt you. But you were able to get a field goal to begin. That was a 50-yard field goal.
Yep.
You were able to get that on the strength of the drive itself. So to me, that shows progress as an offense. Same thing on their next drive after that, their next offensive drive after that, where a Dalton Schultz pass interference call, it nullifies a touchdown. They got Harrison Bryant in the end zone, and they get a penalty on Dalton Schultz that not only nullifies the touchdown, but puts them back some. Okay, all good. We're gonna get these 3 yards from Xavier Hutchinson, and then we're gonna find Nico Collins in the end zone anyway on what I believe was 3rd down. So I'm saying all that to say, like, they are responding to the other team. They are responding to themselves in a sense of like their own failures. They're responding like it's not, oh, we got a penalty, drive over with, you know, like I'm sick of that. So I think that's a cool part of what we're seeing from the offense, and something that they can definitely build on. One thing, because I know we got to get to the Rockets at some point, and you know, I don't want to take up too much time, but I do want to talk about the defense before we get off the Texans, because I don't feel like we can have a serious conversation about the team without really mentioning the defense. And maybe we have throughout the show so far. We having such a good time talking about them. But let's just take a moment to appreciate what is one of the top defenses in the league. And in some cases, you might say in the discussion, having an argument for the best defense in the league. And look, they go out there. They're keeping them in every game. They're number 1 in points allowed and so fewest points allowed out of all defenses. And then they go out there and they only allow 10 points to a Ravens offense that didn't have Lamar Jackson, but did have a bunch of dudes that could hurt you, right? Like, I think they deserve credit for how they held Derrick Henry in check in the run game. I think they deserve credit for how, even though Zay Flowers got a big play on them, they were able to gang tackle whenever that dude did that crazy jump back, like almost like a boxer avoiding a punch. He do that jump back, but then somebody be right there ready to gang tackle for the most part. DeAndre Hopkins had that one big play against Kamari, but not too much after that or past that. And of course, you know, the Mark Andrews, I feel bad for, because like he's steady just such a good player, and steady just, you know, making a play. It's like, oh, it's kind of awkward, man, because you see like a good dude, good player, but you know, that's another dude that can hurt you.
I don't think he ever recovered from the drop that he had in Buffalo.
That's what I'm saying. Between that and because he actually was playing pretty good up until, you know, and then I was like, that reminded me a lot of Buffalo. But for me, the defense is just impressive in so many ways. They got difference makers at every level. And it just seems like even when they give up plays, there's always just somebody around the football. There's always somebody just ready to step up and make a play. So I'm curious from you, what has impressed you most about watching the Texans defense up close?
Well, let me say this. You know, earlier in the show, we talked about how close the Texans were in those 3 losses. We talked about how the defense was able to keep them in the game in those 3 losses. B, and I know that you've talked about this already on your show, but I'm gonna rehash it and I'm gonna bring it back. 3 losses, 2 wins. What is the what is the common denominator in the losses, and what is the common denominator in the wins? Don't worry, I'll tell you. 3 losses, CJ Gardner-Johnson. 2 wins, no CJ Gardner-Johnson. And what has impressed me the most about this Texans defense is a couple of things. One, they are playing with that swarm mentality. It's good to see Jalen Petrie back out on the field making plays, but they hit you, and then they hit you again, and then they hit you again, and then they hit you again, and they keep hitting you until the game is over. Now, they have suffered in those 3 losses. They had a lot of missed tackles. But side note, so I didn't know that the NFL teams only get 14 padded practices throughout the entire year. They only get to put on the pads 14 times. And even like during training camp preseason, they can't have a lot of padded practices, and you can't have consecutive days in pads, which lets me know that's why I seen so many missed tackles early on in the season by a lot of teams, because these guys ain't practicing tackling. They're practicing running up and, you know, bumping the guy. So I seen a lot of missed tackles from that defense early on, but I brought up CJ Gardner-Johnson first because this defense is about everybody swarming, everybody moving at the same time. They are a unit. They move as a unit. And anytime one person is out of sync, it throws a whole lot of stuff off. And I remember Matt Burke. Well, you were there, B, when Matt Burke was kind of got upset with me because I asked about that. And I was like, but I had to ask because of CJ Gardner-Johnson. And so, you know, you go back and you look at some of those plays, and DJ Bieneme from ESPN did a great job of breaking that stuff down, but there's still way more intricacies and nuances of how he just wasn't in the right place at the right time, and it messed up a lot. And even though MJ Stewart may not have the talent that a CJ Gardner-Johnson has, he knows that, hey, I want to stay on this field. I want to be in this game. And in order to do that, I need to play within the system, because once you play within that system, that front seven is going to do what it needs to do. But if you ain't doing what you need to do on the back end, you can't expect them to win. You want them to win every time. But if you freelancing back there and they're not able to get the pressure, or they're running something that they're trying to run in coverage, and then you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Now you're leaving Kamari on the island looking around like, wait a minute, where my safety help? Or you're leaving Kalen like, man, I got two people back here, but you're supposed to be back here with me as well. And so getting rid of him and the way that they played the last two games. Now, look, I can talk about Will Anderson has impressed me, and he has. I can talk about Danielle Hunter has impressed me, and he has. But B, if we keeping it a buck right here on the B Block podcast, if we gonna look, if we gonna keep it, I don't know if I can be this ethnic on your show, but I will. Hey B, if we keeping it a thou wow, if we keeping it a thou wow,
you may be so ethnic, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. Kamari Lassiter is the defensive MVP of the first 5 games. There isn't a player on the, and then you got all pro Sting on the other side, but Stingley has been playing hurt, and he really did. This bye week came at the right time for him, but he has been playing hurt since week 1. But bro, Kamari is one of those guys where he is never satisfied, no matter if he doesn't give up a catch, if he doesn't give up a touch, if he doesn't give up anything, he'll still go back and remember where he did wrong. I don't know if you've seen the clip that I put out when I was talking to him after the game on Sunday, and we were talking about the interception, and we were just talking about the game, and he was like, I mean, I'm glad we won the game, man. I'm glad we was able to come up here and do what we did. I mean, it's always good to get the win, but I mean, if I'm being honest, I mean, I should have had 3 picks. And then he went back to 2 plays that I didn't even remember. And then he was like, "Yo, I gotta play better, man. I gotta tap in. I gotta dig deep. I gotta tap in." And I was just like, "Bro, y'all just blew this team out 44-10. Y'all didn't give up any points last game, and his mind is already set on, hey man, I need to play the Seattle Seahawks because I need to get in there and improve on my game." B, I don't know if you were there when we talked to him at the beginning of the year, and he said after they lost to Kansas City, he took 2 weeks off before he started practicing again. And he said he only took those 2 weeks off because the organization told him, you do not do anything football related. You have to let your body rest. Don't work out. Don't do none of that stuff. Just let your body rest and relax. But you need that type of mindset. D'Amico Ryan said on Monday when we talked to him that, that's the type of mindset that he wants in all of his players. That's how he wants all of his players to think. But B, the defensive MVP right now in the first 5 weeks for the Houston Texans is Kamari Lassiter.
Yeah, I'm good with that, man. You can put Kamari Lassiter on my football team 8 days out of the week, man. I'm good with it. You're not gonna get no pushback from me. Matter of fact, I'll point this out, and I mentioned this about the offense overcoming penalties and penalties not being the thing that had to kill a drive because they were still making plays and still moving the ball downfield. Kamari's got a little bit of an underrated example of this too in that drive that I was talking about before, where and I want to say, this is the field goal drive. This is the first field goal drive for the Ravens, where of course he gives up that big play to Hop, gets called for the penalty. Hop catches it anyway. It's a big play, puts the Ravens in the red zone. But remember earlier I mentioned Zay Flowers and that jump back thing that he does, and so a couple of plays later he does that. So they in the red zone now. At that point, they are, after that play, they are down to Houston 16, and they're driving the ball. It looks like they're probably going to score a touchdown at that point. They run a play for 6 yards. So they're down to the 10. It's 2nd and 4 to 10. Okay. 2nd and 4 to 10. Then 2 plays happen. You mentioned Kamari Lassiter and you mentioned Will Anderson earlier. Obviously, Will Anderson is one of the leaders on this defense, of course. Will Anderson stops Derrick Henry for no gain on 2nd and 4 from the 10. Okay, so 2nd and goal, basically. No gain.
Mm-hmm.
3rd down is the Zay Flowers play that I'm talking about, where he does the step back, jukes Daniil Hunter. Daniil Hunter just olays, just whiffs at him.
Yeah.
Because this move is it's a real impressive move. I got to give Zay Flowers credit for it. But who's right there? Henry To'oTo'o and Kamari Lassiter. There to make the play. Okay, even though he had just given up a play, not giving up on the plays or the drive or allowing that to affect him, having that short-term memory. He waits till after the game to be all hung up about the plays that he don't make. And there he is making a play. Oh, Zay Flowers makes this incredible move to make Daniil Hunter miss, but he only gets 1 yard off the play because Henry To'oTo'o and Kamari Lassiter are swarming toward the football. And again, he only gets 1 yard field goal, and at the time, again, they could have scored a touchdown and they still would have lost because we didn't know they was going to get blown out like that. But at the time, that felt huge because early in the game, you holding them to a field goal. You're on the road. You ain't never won here before. You're trying to get some momentum. You're trying to get something going for yourself, get a win going into the bye week, and you hold them to a field goal after they got the ball inside the 10, 2nd down, and you're able to make it work. So he's another good example of that. Okay, so the defense, I think it's the championship level defense. It'll be about how does the offense progress? Can they keep that same energy? Can the offense, and I think that they're up for it, but I think it's still a relevant question, a fair question to ask based off of what we've seen so far, some good, some not so good. Can the offense match the energy of what appears to be a championship defense in Houston? All right. So before we get out of here, I know you was at the Rockets preseason opener, Toyota Center. I didn't get to make it. I think we'll both be there on Wednesday, though, Kevin Durant's debut. So I will see you there. But before we get there, I want to get a sense for your expectations for this team. I don't think we've done a B block since Kevin Durant. I don't believe so. Since Kevin Durant signed, we haven't had a chance to talk as much Rockets. So just want to get a feel for it. And of course, you've been there. You were at media days. You've been at practices or training camp practices and all of that. So I want to get what's your vibe on the team? What's your expectation? And then, of course, what are you looking to see on Wednesday? This early look at the Rockets.
Shout out to Yahoo NBA's national writer Caley Eco.
That's right, Caley coming up in the world. Hey, since you mentioned that, congratulations to Caley Eco, our guy. I would say friend of the show. I haven't had Caley on. We got to change that.
Hey man, you gotta get him on, bro. Kelly's amazing.
For sure, but our partner Caley Eco making that move from the Athletic to Yahoo Sports, one of their newest, if not the newest NBA insider over there doing big things. So shout out to that guy.
Yeah, and I brought Caley up because in our post game recap that we did after the Rockets beat the Hawks, he said he said something that just automatically has stuck in my mind. He said that the Houston Rockets are a work in progress because you need to see now, what they lost 2 offensive starters when they traded Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks for Kevin Durant. So you lose 2 starters, you lose your two starters to trade, and then you lose another starter to injury for the season, at least until till the playoffs. And I don't know, even if he's able to come back during the playoffs, how good is he going to be as far as condition wise and trying to get used to playing with some of these players. And I'm talking about Fred VanVleet, the starting point guard for the Houston Rockets. So now when Caley says a work in progress, you're looking and you're saying, okay, so when they drafted our man Thompson, he was a point guard. He's played point guard his entire career. And the Houston Texans were just able to unlock something in him by moving him around to multiple positions on the offensive side of the ball. And he said on Tuesday during his press conference that, hey, somebody asked him, maybe it was me, I can't remember, but somebody asked him about playing point guard, and he said, hey, man, I'm just a basketball player. I'm just a basketball player, and that's what he is. He just loves to play basketball. So now you have him, you know, as your primary playmaker, your primary ball handler, and with with his quick first step, and he's able to get to the basket. He's going to put a lot of pressure on the on defenses, more pressure than Fred VanVleet would have been able to put on him. But there are two different types of point guards, of course, and they're going to miss Fred's ability to calm everything down when it gets chaotic, because being that veteran, he is that guy that can slow things down. But you got Amin playing that position. Now you're trying to get a second year player in Reed Shepard, who's still developing his his NBA body. So now you got two new guys playing in the backcourt, and you know what you're going to get from Alperen Şengün. You know what you're going to get from Kevin Durant. And with the jump that Jabari has made as far as jump shooting, being able to create his own shot. We seen that on we seen that in the game on Monday night when he drove to the basket and got that dunk, but he created that shot coming off the wing. And so my expectations for them is it's going to be rough early on, because Ime is still going to be trying to find, and I'm sorry, Houston Rockets head coach Ime Udoka. I got to, some people may not know who Ime is.
Yeah, for the uninitiated, I knew you was talking about for the record, but for the uninitiated, you talking about Rockets head coach Ime Udoka.
Yep, and so he's gonna have to find those right combinations, because even in a game against Atlanta, and because Atlanta had their starters out there, and he didn't have all his starters, but he steady mixing and matching, and you're saying, yeah, it's gonna be a work in progress, because where are you gonna get? So how is Tari gonna get his minutes? What are you gonna do by rotating in Clint Capella and Steven Adams? And so my expectations for them is, I think that they won't start, the saying in the NBA is the season doesn't start till after Christmas Day. And that's when I think that the Rockets will take off, because by that point they've got used to everybody, because our man is still trying to learn where people want the ball. He's still trying to work his spots. Kevin Durant hasn't even had game time experience with him just yet. And so I think it's going to be a work in progress, and they're not going to jump out and take the league by storm like everybody's thinking they're going to do, because they have the size and the length. It's still going to take time for them to be able to mesh well in that work in progress. But when it's all said and done, I still have them as one of the top four teams in the West. I think that one of their biggest opponents, though, I think that one of their people want to think that the Oklahoma City Thunder is going to be one of the roadblocks for the Houston Rockets. It's going to be the Denver Nuggets.
Tell me why.
Because they are a team, and I can't think. They added, they got rid of Michael Porter Jr., but they added somebody. Oh my goodness!
Well, I just want to say why you figuring that out. I do want to say that I wanted to give you space to say why Denver, but just to say that I agree with you about Oklahoma City. I'm not taking away nothing from the Thunder, rightful champions, well deserved, all of that. But when it comes down to the matchup between them and the Rockets, I like that matchup for the Rockets. I always have, or at least I have for a while now, and I do so even more now. So it's not even a matter of what the Thunder are or are not. I just like the way that the Rockets match up with them specifically, and it would be a really, really fun matchup and situation if they were able to find themselves against each other in the playoffs. So that's something that I'm actually keeping an eye out for myself, actually.
All right, let me say this real quick, and then reason why, because I was like, they got somebody that I know is going to. So they lost Michael Porter Jr., but they got Cameron Johnson back.
They did. They
got Cameron Johnson, and they got a shooter in Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah, for a known Rockets killer.
To go along with Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray. And anytime you get Nikola Jokic on the floor, man, that's just. But they're a team that has revamped some of their their lineups, and they have the experience. See, they have the experience to be able to get them through different types of situations and scenarios. So that's why I got the Denver Nuggets. And then once Oklahoma City gets healthy, I mean, they're a very good team, but I just think that one of the biggest hurdles for the Rockets is going to be the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, man. Look, I agree about the Denver Nuggets being a tough team. There's going to be a lot of tough teams there at the end. I keep thinking back to something that KD said to y'all on media day, and you kind of echoed it a little bit there just now about like it might take time. And to just want to say this while we sitting here talking about it on the podcast, man, to not freak out. I know you not. I know I'm not, but like for the audience, for the people listening, anybody that catch this, man, if at times it looks a little clunky, or it looks like they're figuring it out, or it looks like they just started playing together, let me let you in on a little secret. It's because they did. Right? it's because they literally did. And so that's it. That's that. And it might, what KD said with y'all at media day was that it might take time. That might take time figuring out how we're gonna gel it all together. And this was I think him talking about or answering a question about the ingredients. They got championship ingredients, and just saying that it's gonna take time for it might take time for it to all come together. And so I like that you put that out there about Christmas Day being a time when the season starts. I think people can kind of just decide whenever they want. You can arbitrarily decide when you want to start taking the season seriously.
Yeah.
But I would caution everybody to just give them time. Set your own arbitrary time of when you want them to start taking them seriously, but give them at least a little bit of time to kind of figure things out. But just for me, in terms of like handling the ball, filling that Fred VanVleet role, and just trying to maximize what they got. They got three guys that I'm real comfortable with having the ball in their hands at any given moment, and that's Amen Thompson, Alperen Sengun, and obviously Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
So that's three guys right there. Jabari in that dunk. Let me tell you, I'm glad that I wasn't at the game with y'all, and I'm gonna be there on Wednesday. But I'm glad that I was not at my seat at Toyota Center for that game, because I look over time now. I started to kind of enjoy when we get to step outside of ourselves and like watch the game and really be able to react to it in real time. Because we got decorum and professionalism and a way to carry ourselves on press row and a press box or in a press setting, and I'm gonna do that, right? Like I've been doing that for basically forever. And I know the rules, right? I'm not gonna break the rules. But what I do like to do is be somewhere where the rules don't exist.
Yeah.
And man, when he turned that when he made that drive and when he dunked, this is a thing, Sarge, like his first couple of years, it was like, man, why does this tall ass dude not dunk more? Like he's talented, he's like he's tall, dunk the ball, Jabari.
Yep.
And so like that was the thing for me. And now like we're seeing him develop into, you talk about Reed Shepherd development into his NBA body. Jabari looks like he's developing into his NBA body, like where you want Reed Shepherd to be by, maybe this time next year or whatever the case may be. So so that was a cool ass moment for me, man. Watching it, like my girl could tell you, like I shot. Oh, wait a minute, hold up, like because I was in the bed, kind of sitting up in the bed, and I don't think I was expecting him to punch it on him like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an exciting moment. But look, I think I mentioned him because he's somebody that I'm not necessarily expecting to like carry the rock or do a bunch of creation, but it's good to see that he's added that element to his game. And I'm hoping that especially with Kevin Durant around and him having a relationship with Jabari and having a recognition for what Jabari brings to the table, that somewhere within leadership, they make it a point to involve this man in what they doing. Ime Udoka mentioned head coach, Rockets head coach Ime Udoka mentioned wanting to get more corner threes this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a guy that you can design some plays for, or run some action for.
Actually
just
run some action and not just say he gonna get what he can get, like you've been
right.
saying the last 2 years.
Exactly. So that's gonna be my expectation. Damn it, they figure out a way to use Jabari Smith on top of the fact that they got those main three guys that I mentioned that I feel comfortable with having the basketball in their hands. Man, it's gonna be fun tomorrow, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Hold
I'm
on, let me
looking
throw
forward to
this
what
in
we
there.
see.
Let
Go
me
ahead.
throw this in there real quick. B. 2-3 quick things. One, I think that the Rockets. I think that the Rockets having a motivated Alperen Şengün that's coming into the season already in game shape, having played as much basketball as he did this summer. This is the first time I've seen Alpi actually look like he is in game shape and not working himself into game shape. Like his physical stature, and we've been talking about growing into your NBA body, and he looks like it. He looks like he's quicker. He looks like he's fast. He says that he's stronger. But having him being able to be the creator on the court that he is also going to open up more for Jabari Smith. And having him, having our men, having Kevin Durant on the floor at the same time, three playmakers that can make plays for everybody else. That's when the floor is going to open up for Reed Shepherd, because you're going to be so focused on trying to stop all of these other these other weapons that the Rockets have, that he's going to be able to float and get to wherever he wants to get to. Now, he isn't strong creating off the dribble just yet. That's something that he's going to have to learn to do more and more. And then he could be, I mean, think about it, B. Klay Thompson was never a player that could create his own shot, but you get him in his spots and he's going to kill you. What did I seen him beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, had 60 points in like 13 dribbles or something like that, 13, 15 dribbles. And that's going to be Reed Shepherd. Hey, we're going to run him off, and if you're going to follow him, then you're going to get killed by KD, or you're going to get killed by Alpi, or you're going to get killed by our men. Or our men's gonna drive to the paint and draw the defense into him, while Reed, he's gonna know exactly where Reed is, and he's gonna kick him the ball. And Reed can shoot, and that's gonna help. And the more he shoots, the more confidence he's going to get. So I just want to throw that that really quickly in there. And I do like one of the most underrated players, I think, on the Houston Rockets team, outside of Tari Eason, because Tari is really good, and outside of Steven Adams, because I think that he does a lot. Man, Aaron Holiday. Aaron Holiday doesn't get the credit that he deserves, but he is really, really good for that team.
I said this on, I can't remember if it was my last podcast, on a recent B Block podcast. I said with my chest, and didn't I don't think I heard, and I don't think I got any pushback on this, but maybe it was I don't know. I said somewhere that, look, I would not blink at starting Aaron Holiday while they try to figure this out, or like, if so, I would go ahead and just throw Reed in the, just throw him in the water. But
Yep.
if they didn't want to do that, I'd feel comfortable with Aaron Holiday. Or if they did do that, and that is throwing Reed into the water, into the fire, if you will, however you want to look at it. If it didn't work, or if it became apparent to them that he was overwhelmed and not ready for the moment, or whatever the case may be, and I'm not saying that he is or isn't, I'm just saying if that's what it turned out to be, and they go to Aaron Holiday, like, and I brought it up because, when this Fred VanVleet thing happened, when the injury happens, the first a logical question for a lot of people is, who they gonna go get? Who they gonna go get? How they gonna replace? Who they gonna go get? Who they gonna trade for? Who they gonna sign? All of that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm all right. They doesn't look like they're gonna do nothing. They probably not gonna do nothing, and so they're not gonna do nothing. But that's not bothering me, because I think it's, first of all, time for Reed Shepherd to step up. It's his second season. He's a number 3 overall pick, and now you need him. So step up, point blank, period. And then if by chance he can't, I'm actually cool with Aaron Holiday in like this sort of role. Not let's make Aaron Holiday be Fred VanVleet, Let's make a role for Aaron Holiday centered around what we're already doing that should be pretty good with Kevin Durant, Alperen Sengun, and Amin Thompson.
Yep.
So that's where I'm at on that, man. We will both be at that game on Wednesday. Kevin Durant's Rockets debut preseason, albeit, but exciting times to be around at the Toyota Center. Big Sarge, let the people know about the Texans Tailgate Talk Show. Let them know about what you're doing at Rockets Wire. Y'all got the Texans Cookout. You always into something. Let them know about it.
Well, you can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Big Sarge Sports, the Z at the end. You can follow me on the Tick and the Talk at Big Sarge Media. Make sure you are subscribed to the Texans Tailgate Talk podcast and YouTube channel. That's all one word, Texans Tailgate Talk. Follow me on Instagram at Big Sarge Sports with the Z at the end. Because we do everything for the gram, everything. And then make sure you're reading my articles over at bigsargemedia.com. I have one that's dropping about Kamari Lassiter and Xavier Hutchinson within the next 2 days. Then you can read all my work over at Rockets Wire USA Today under my government name, which is Brian Bearfield. Don't go there looking for Big Sarge because you'll be like, hey, man, I thought you said Big Sarge right for Rockets. Well, I don't see no Big Sarge. I see a Brian Bearfield. I see, who's that white guy? But anyway, I got an article out right now about Alpi being the creator and the playmaker like Jabari Smith Jr. And so, hey, B, you put the music on me like I'm at the Grammys.
Yeah, no. We vibing out. I was trying to see if you're gonna freestyle at the end. I'm gonna let you finish, and I'm gonna let you freestyle at the end if you want to. No, keep telling the people where they can find Big Sarge or Brian Bearfield.
Yeah, at Rockets Wire USA Today. I'm working on a story right now about Reed Shepherd and what he did for his community after his hometown was hit with a tornado and it tore up the school. And so, yeah, he went back and did some things back home to help him, to help his school. I asked him about it. It was the last question I asked at Media Day, but I'm finishing that up. I'm waiting on some more quotes. But yeah, man, got some things coming down, on the pipeline.
Yeah, hey man, I respect the hustle. Always on the scene, telling stories, getting the info, providing the insight, the boots on the ground, if you will. So gotta respect it. Make sure that y'all checking my guy out, man, on all of the various different platforms, man. Look, I gotta tell you, man, this is always fun, man. Always a good time. We kind of stretch out, sit back, you know what I'm saying, do our thing, man. So I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you for being here, dog.
All right, yeah. So you want me to hold on. Hey, turn me up in the headphones. Hold on. Hey, man. Hey, I can't hear at the headphones. Oh. All right.
Coming down.
Hold on. Wait, you still got to turn me up in the headphones.
That's Big Sarge. Hey, that's Big Sarge on the bi-week B-Block podcast with Big Sarge, aka Brian Bearfield with B.Scott, because we love us some alliteration around here, but don't ask for his government name if you're looking for him on the Rockets Wire. My guy. Hey, I'm B.Scott from Hiram Clark. Make sure that you subscribe to the B-Block podcast if you're not already. Check us out on YouTube or wherever it is you get your podcast. That's it for now. Until next time.
You know what I got? The freestyle flow coming off the effing dome. It's the Buddy BB, and I'm sitting in my home, riding on the chrome when I hit the 4-5. That's that 45 North, and you know I go live.
Hey, we gonna get you out of here like J-Back.
Appreciate it, B. Thanks for having me, man.
Later, man. Big thanks to Big Sarge, man, for being here. And big thanks to y'all, man. We'll catch y'all later.